Hi folks, it's Evo here from Thundermist Lure Company, and welcome to today's episode of Thundermist Fishing Tips. You know, I'm out here with Rob. I'm out on the Detroit River, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to work our way along this island here, and we've got, right along the shoreline, there's lots of weeds, and there's weed pockets and weed beds, and there's a nice weed edge right along the side here. We're going to drift with the current, follow this weed and fish those weed edge and maybe in those pockets a little bit. We're looking for largemouth bass today, folks, but you never know. We might hook into a walleye or a muskie. When you're working the weeds, you just never know what you're going to get. And we're going to use the Flexi-Jigs today. As you know, it's become my favorite jig by far. And I've just got a worm on here, and as you can see, the Flexi-Jig flexes down, giving you a perfect hook set as the hook changes direction there. And all I've got is I've got a 4-inch worm on there, a black and white worm that I'm going to run and work along these weed edges. And we're going to just take short casts along these weed edges. And it's nice because you can see in the water, there's a dark line. You can see where the clear water is and where the weed bed is. And I just cast a little bit into a weed there. And on the edge of this flat, it drops down to about 8, 10, 12 feet of water, and then out in the channel it's 20 feet. So this is a perfect spot for those fish to be holding in. You've got deep water access, so we're hoping to get into a few largemouth bass today, folks. Feels like a decent fish too. He's tugging. He didn't break water yet though. There we go. Oh, we got a walleye. We got a walleye. There we go. Well, it's not a largemouth bass, but it's a weed walleye. Can you imagine that? There we go. Nice walleye. And a good hook set too to boot. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll take them and we'll keep jigging this weed line looking for largemouth. But in the meanwhile, that's a nice bonus right there. There's a couple of jumps, folks. I got myself a largemouth. That was a nice little hit. There he is there. Come on, Mr. Largy. Let's get you in the boat. There we go. We'll get him back in the water. And then away he goes. Oh, look at there. He hit that worm pretty hard. But that's no worse for wear either. I'll get that Flexi-Jig back in the water again. Now, the other thing I like to do, folks, when I'm working these weed edges, I like to actually read the weed edge. If I see a little dip or a little pocket in there, I'll cast to the pocket. If I see where the weed edge comes out to a little point and makes a bend, I'll cast to the point. So I'm looking for something different along the weed edge, and I'm casting to those areas because they're higher percentage areas. In fact, even if I see weeds and then I see a cluster of a different kind of weed in there, I'll cast to those weed beds, and I'll work the edge, and I'm looking for things that are different. And those are higher percentage areas, and just bouncing the jig, bouncing that Flexi-Jig just on the bottom, that's where the strike zone is. And if you see something different, chances are, your odds are better that there'll be a fish holding in that area. Oh, you know what, folks, where there's one, there's more. This one's kind of buried in the weeds there. Come on, Mr. Largemouth. Let me get him out of there. There we go, folks. There's another nice Flexi-Jig largemouth right there. They're not that big, but they're nice fish. Right along these weeds, folks. It's working like a charm. Okay, Mr. Largemouth, get you back out there. This largemouth fishing is great. Catching largemouth, catching walleye. Missed the muskie actually a little earlier, who cut me off. But you never know what you're going to get along these weed edges. I love fishing these weed edges. You can see the clearer water and the dark weed edge, and just working along the side of those weed edges, it's absolutely perfect, and it holds a variety of fish. And you're gonna get those active fish on the outside of those weed edges. That's where the active fish are going to be. The dormant fish are going to be buried in the weed, inside the weeds. But those active fish, especially on days like today, they're going to be right on those edges, feeding. We're on again, folks. We just drifted in here looking close to shore. Oh, there's a nice largemouth. And I cast it right in the reeds there. I don't know if you can see that log. Oh, it's a nice largemouth. There's a nice largemouth. Right along that log. Oh, there we go. Nice fish. Oh, yes. There's a largemouth right there, folks. There's a chunk right there. There's a, oh, beautiful. Beautiful largemouth. That was great. I gotta tell you, that's textbook largemouth right there. Textbook. In he goes. Folks, you see that log there right along that shoreline? We just drifted in. The wind and the current just brought us in towards the shore. And I said to Rob, I'm gonna cast it right to that log. And whammo, did he ever hit like a ton of bricks. That was phenomenal. There we go, folks, we're into another one. I tossed it into this weed pocket this time. There was a nice pocket there. And Mr. Largemouth was sitting right in that pocket. Come on, there we go. There's another nice largemouth, folks, right there. This is unbelievable fishing, folks. Out here in the Detroit River, working these little 4-inch worms on my favorite Flexi-Jigs, in and amongst the weeds here along the Fighting Island here on the Detroit River. It's phenomenal fishing. I'm having myself an outstanding day, folks. If you get an opportunity, bass love worms. Flexi-Jigs, any jigs with a worm, 4-inch worms. I love the 4-inch worms. They're nice. They can pick them up easily. You get a nice bite and a great fish. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Thundermist Lure Company. And as always, until next time, good luck and good fishing.